Okay, so today I'll be ranking SoL chapters by difficulty. Poll in my community tab and people seem to want this. So I am going to give my unsalted opinion on the various difficulties of these. Now I have these pre-ranked because obviously 49 is a lot. Okay, so we're starting off with The Legend Begins. This chapter introduces Metal Hippo, Saint Piggy, and Doge Stark. It's the first chapter in the game, and therefore it is free cat food. It is that easy. Next up is Passionlands, which introduces Master A. It really isn't that difficult, it's literally just Master A, still an E tier. Next up is Glucosamine Desert. Yeah, I pronounced that right. That introduces Celeboodle and Dachshund, which you guessed it is an S tier. Okay, never mind, it's down here. Okay, so Swimming Cats is the fourth chapter. This introduces Douche, and Slot. Now, it's starting to get a little more difficult, but still it's gonna be an E tier for me. Like, all of these chapters are easy. Very, very easy. Then Risky Terrain as Otta Smack You. And I honestly hate this chapter because there's so many Master Ace, but it's still free cat food. Now Western Street introduces JK Bun Bun. Still pretty much free. Like, these just aren't difficult. They really just aren't. Now we're starting to get a little more serious at Sea of Tuna, which introduces Boar. And actually has a few difficult stages. So the last stage in Sea of Tuna is Cave Fillet, which has these guys. And is honestly a pretty difficult stage for the chapter, so this is actually in pushover tier rather than free cat food. It's a lot more difficult, still not really spicy compared to the rest, but it definitely deserves a higher ranking in my opinion. Now we have Bamboo Island, which introduces Shadowboxer K and Rain D. And this one is honestly pretty annoying, especially on higher stars. Boosted Rain D is a pain in the ass. Then we have Squishy Cave, which introduces Gory Black, Albrow, and Camel, which is also a D tier. Camel can be difficult to deal with in early game, and I'm ranking this by like 3-star difficulty. Boosted Camel is not fun to deal with. It's just very annoying. So Volcano is next, which introduces Cory. I'm also gonna put this one in D tier for the same reason. 3-star boosted Cory, and he goes up to like 400%. Which is quite a lot of damage per hit. He's still very squishy though, so not super difficult. Now Neverending Cat's story introduces nothing. Honestly, a really easy chapter for where it's at in SoL basically. Castle of Fish, same story, just filler chapter. Now Sushi Islands introduces Kurosawa. And that definitely puts it in E tier. It just isn't that difficult. Kurosawa is such a slow enemy and just does not do anything. Like, sure, he can nuke your units, but that's kind of it. Now, the Scratching Post is also an E tier, but also does not introduce anything. Very lame chapter. Then we have Parthenon, which is considerably more difficult. It has a metal one horn, it has Bun Bun Black, and the last stage in the chapter is actually pretty spicy. So this stage, Labyrinth of Hades, it is definitely a lot more difficult on 3 stars, considering it has Cory being very boosted and Bun Bun Black being an incredibly tanky unit with a lot of knockbacks. They make quite a nasty team for an early game stage, but still not super difficult, so D tier it is. I will be re-ranking these on 4-star difficulty because that's going to be a completely different story, as Octopus won't be able to just power creep down. Now, Low Tide Beach is definitely a lot more difficult. There is a lot of nasty enemies in that, and I am definitely going to put it in C tier because it introduces Echna. And as you can see, the introduction stage is Star Ocean, which is incredibly difficult for an early game stage in my opinion. It is a nasty one, so this is going into the balanced tier. The rest of the chapter isn't super difficult, but yeah, that one stage really pushes it. Then we have Alcatraz, which has a few very nasty stages. It introduces R Ost and Dober PD. And yeah, that's Villain's Jungle, which is a very nasty Ost stage. And then Prison Prairie was also very nasty, I believe. During the Morgue, definitely one of the more annoying wave stages because there is so many spam units in that, and in 3 stars that just hurts. Jailbreak Tunnel, very difficult chapter in comparison. At least the former ones. This is going straight into B tier. It is painful. It introduces Sir Metal Seal, which is on its own already bad enough, but it also introduces Ururun Wolf, and whilst that stage isn't too difficult, the ones prior to it are horrendous. Jailbreak Tunnel is one of the worst chapters in my opinion. And I don't mean in terms of difficulty, I mean just in terms of not being fun. Sin and Punishment was alright, Prison Sentence is pretty bad. Harry Tunnel is very RNG reliant. Deadfalls is such a long and unfun stage. Same with Pitfall Zone. And The Great Escaper is not too bad, but at that point you're just done with the chapter, you know. Then is Capone's Jail, which introduces Gabriel, Heavenly Hippo, and Angelic Gory. This one goes into balanced, in my opinion. It's not that difficult, but it's also not super easy. Silk Road is up next, which is Ginger Snatch, Waldoge, Sunfish Jones, and Super Metal Hippo. Most of these aren't too bad. C tier, in my opinion. Stairway to Darkness introduces Pigeon, the Sable, or whatever his name is, Dark Otter, and Sleipnir. While still not super easy, it's also not super difficult. Again, fairly balanced chapter for where it's at, in my opinion. Then Trolley Blogger and Metal Doge are introduced in Prince of Darkness. Again, not that bad as a chapter. Has a few spicier ones, I believe, but they're generally not that bad. And then we have Le Noir and Lil Nyandam being introduced in Dead End Night. The second legend unit you unlock. And this one is honestly pretty easy for where it's at. Like, Lil Nyandam used to be a fairly difficult fight, but like if you have Awakened Bahamut, if you have Career, it's a joke. Battle Royale, it's a long chapter, but it's not that difficult. And it introduces Chick-fil-A. Not too bad, honestly, just spam dragons. Scars of War does not introduce anything. Also fairly easy chapter in my opinion. Sea Polluter introduces Cappy, Brawlo, and Berserkory, 3 very nasty enemies. And I'm going to put it in balanced because Courier power creeps the hell out of it, but like Without that would definitely be in at least B tier. Like, that chapter was nasty before career released. Then we have Body and Soul, which introduces Mr. Mole. Generally not a bad enemy, but again, like, some of the stages are just very difficult. Especially if you don't have the right units for them. Okay, so then we have Weak and Mildly Acidic, which introduces Toucan and codename Red Riding. Both very nasty enemies. And this is also going to be tier. This feels like a legend chapter. It is incredibly nasty. Because if I look at the stages here, at least I'm a cat. Generally a spam stage, quite difficult, especially at high boost. Knights of the Round it's a gimmick stage, but it can be quite difficult. Cat Catharsis, I don't remember. Let me see. Okay, that's the gory spam stage. That is not very fun to deal with. Beautiful Finale is... I do not like that stage. It is very bad, especially without Octo. No More Bad Dreams is Sanzo power crept, but can be quite a nasty stage still. And Learn to Love is especially difficult at restores. Honestly, I might say that's an A tier, but I feel like it just about doesn't make it because Learn to Love is a very nasty stage at high boost. Mina sniping your base at like 130% is pretty bad. Interpret Cats introduces Tacky and Mr. Angel, and is definitely one of the harder stages, chapters. Definitely putting that into B tier. As a Renewed Conflict and Mysterious Order can be quite difficult stages, especially if you don't have good anti-backliner units. Birdwatching is an Oz stage. Tourney Dialogue is... it's Alpaki and Wall Doges, with a few tackies in there, I believe, and that is very hard to rush. And doing it the normal way takes a very long time. Dark Web is a wave stage, and if you don't have Octo, that is an incredibly difficult stage. So yeah, that is definitely a beater. Shadow Cosmopolis is also one of the harder ones. It introduces Borophim, and it is... I'm gonna say a C tier, but like... some of the stages can definitely be nasty. Sanzo does power creep Borophim pretty easily, so that definitely makes it easier. Galapagos introduces Henry, and is also going straight into B tier. I hate this chapter so much. So it introduces DNA and DHA, Twilight Poachers, Surviving Herd, Alien Ecology, Heavenly Creatures, and Conservation Society. I hate basically all of these stages, like, they are annoying even with anti-gimmick cats. Then we have Combo Cape, which introduces Lil Bun Bun, and that is also going straight into B tier. Honestly, post Mina stages are some of the worst in the fucking game, like. Rinrin Shelter Belt, Iberian Plains, Weeping Dunes, Golden Guy, Letfoot Drive, and Trouble at the Mansion. Letfoot Drive, Rinrin Shelter Belt, and Golden Guy all definitely gave me massive trouble in Uberless. Trouble at the Mansion is very pushy and can be difficult if you don't have good backliner snipers. Weeping Dunes is not too bad because you can rush it pretty easily, but the rest is just... I hate it. Then we have Axis of Evil, which introduces Professor A and Razorback. Two massive assholes. I'm gonna put that one in C tier. It's not as bad as the predecessors, but definitely still a pain to deal with. Suburbs of the Dead introduces nothing. Well, it technically introduces the zombies, but like nothing new. It's definitely a C tier. It's not super difficult, but it's also not super easy. Then Quarantine Isles introduces Big Cell, and is definitely one of the harder zombie stages. It is definitely going into B tier. I'd say it's like slightly less difficult than Combo Cape, but like that's still bad. So it has Virus Smugglers, Bionic Seaweed, which is a metal stage, Ancestral Ways, a High Watchtower, Tuna Fish Trenches, and the Infected King. Now, the Infected King isn't too bad on its own. Like, Big Sol is not that difficult to deal with. The part that makes this difficult is these camels. Because if you check here, these camels are 400%. Which is 400k HP and 10,000 attack power per hit. Like, why? And that is on 1 star. That is on 1 star. That isn't even 3 star. That stage took me ages to beat. Now, next up is Mousyland, which introduces Coffin, Zoge, and Zamel. On their own, those two enemies aren't too bad. It's when you combine them with other stuff that they start getting difficult. This is a C tier in my opinion. It's definitely less difficult than the predecessor, but it is also not super easy. And some of the stages in Mousyland can be pretty nasty. Like, I believe Rickety Coaster is in this one. Greeter at the Gates, Rickety Coaster, Virtual Nightmare. 50 Degrees Hotter, which is fairly gimmicky. Irresistible Henhouse is weird. It's weird. And the Haunted 1 LDK then. So, like, those are all fairly nasty ones. Walk of Fame introduces a Doge base and Inumusha. Definitely a C tier in my opinion. Most stages aren't too difficult. There is an Oz stage, Beverly Hills Scoop, and it's zombies, which can make it quite nasty at high boosts, but generally, definitely one of the easier Legend stages. Legend unlock stages, if you will. Now, Cutburst Coast. That's a bit of a different story. It introduces Dolphina. And it is going into not A tier, but it is going into S tier. I want you to back when you play this chapter because it is horrendous at 1 star, let alone on 3 stars. Because, like, who designed this chapter? Who designed the balancing for this? First of all, swim meet. Honestly, the worst stage in all of SoL. I hate this with a passion. The aliens are so boosted. Seabury Salon, Boar Spam, I don't like it. Deep Sea Dying. I forget what this is. It was also bad. It was definitely also bad. Okay, it's the Big Sol Spam with Bun Bun, because why not? Rock Parade, one of my most hated stages in the entire game. It has Ost, and I believe this is the one with Camel. Yes, this is the one with Camel. Because why wouldn't it be? Grand Exhibition, and then No Return Flights. Which is by far one of the most difficult stages in the entirety of SoL. Just like, if you don't have Teacher Bearcat, you are going to cry playing that. It is so difficult. Above and below, very similar difficulty. Going straight into A tier. This chapter starts out with Electric Bat, which is a metal stage with Henry in it. Boiling Spring, which is a... Is this some red spam? This is the red spam, okay. Then Mineral Treatment, which is a gimmick stage, but I hate it because it's Elder Slot, and Elder Slot is so tanky. Soap Scum is a lot less difficult now because of Career, but it's single target spam and I hate it. A big part of it is using Bahamut to quickly clear out enemies, but if he gets hit, he instantly dies, so yeah. The Sauna Crew is, I believe, not as bad. Okay, yeah, that one is pretty much free, but which definitely takes it down a tier, but then Steam to that is Corey's and Calamaria, so yeah. Also very nasty, especially if you can't use Octopus. Then Windless Islands also introduces nothing, but it definitely has some of the more difficult stages in the game. So I am definitely putting into the painful tier. I forget what is exactly in there, so I'll look that up real quick. Narrow docks, as it suggests, it's very narrow, and it is heal spam with Cly 1. Romantic Highway, gimmick stage. Essentially is Brawlos and Olfina. Try not to have your base destroyed, and also try not to destroy the enemy base because there's assassin bears every 10%. Drunken Backrub, also single target spam, I believe. Gulag of Love, I forget what this one is. Okay, it's a doper stage with Sangru, that's why. Yeah, okay. Perfume Room is just... It's just trolley blocker spam, I believe, but they are very boosted. And Houses of the Holy is either incredibly difficult or incredibly easy, depends on your units. IT Catacombs, definitely also one of the more difficult ones. Last stage introduces Crockley, which is quite an annoying enemy to deal with, especially if you don't have anything with slow immune. Definitely go into B tier. Grotesque Gallery does not introduce anything, and the entire chapter is a gimmick. Whilst some of the stages can definitely be difficult in 3-star, I would say this is a C tier. It's just not that difficult as a chapter compared to the others at that point of the game. Like, the most difficult stage is definitely the last one, and that one is just boss fights. You know, like, it's not that difficult. Area 22 introduces Yukon, and I am basing this on Cats of the Cosmos Street Treasures, as you should have by that point. By the point you play 3 stars. It is one of the easiest chapters in the game, honestly, especially for that point of the game. It is so easy with max treasure. Then Beyond Savannah, I would say is the same thing. Except for the last stage, which introduces Winged Piggy, and that is definitely going to A2. Because nothing in this chapter really puts up a fight, you know, like everything is easy except for the last stage. Because, okay, the Noble Tribe is also fairly easy, but like it doesn't have star aliens, it's a different stage. Yeah, this one is so bad. Heaven's Oasis, I hate it. It is one of the stages that made me rage the most in the entire game, and I just do not like playing it. There is next to no viable anti-angels in no Uber, and that is really just... it is fuel to the fire. Blizzard Boulevard, definitely one of the horror chapters. It introduces Haki. Last stage is very nasty, especially without a guide. Scorched Tollboot, I believe it's called. Yeah, Scorched Tollboot. It also has Shiver Junction, Leaky Tunnel, Frostbite Park, Toasty Turnpike, and Sleepy Signals, which are all quite difficult. So definitely one of the higher tier chapters. Singularityville, I put this one in A tier. I'm going to check why, because it introduces Ultra Baba and that probably means it's stacking. Ubiquitous Sales is... that is Project A, right? Yeah, that's just Project A. Virtual Harvest is definitely one of the more difficult ones. Yeah, this is... if you don't have good Black Crushers, you are just going to die. Hacky will be able to snipe your base so easily on that one. Wearable Homes is... it's a gimmicky stage. It's not super difficult, but it's also not super easy. 8k Fertilizer, that is definitely why I put it this high. It's black plus boosted or Ost, and it is nasty. Kurosawa is also in the back to instantly nuke anything, which is not fun to deal with. Blockchain Twilight, again, Seal stage, boosted Metal Seal plus boost from 3-star, just not fun to deal with. And the Haunted Genome is the stack stage. It's not that difficult, but like, it's not super easy either. You definitely need good LD units for that, because otherwise you're just getting mowed down. Then Ends of the Earth is by far one of the most difficult chapters in this entire game. At least in SoL, not in UL. I will be doing UL rankings when I get to that, but like... definitely one of the highest difficulty ones in SoL. So Ultimate Shrine is just Boost Master A, not super difficult. Valley of the End is... that is Slot plus JK Bun Bun. Pretty bad. Honestly, pretty hard to stack on because you get very little time, I believe. Final Tower is either very difficult or very easy, depends on if you cheese it or not. I did cheese it, which made it a lot more easy, but if you don't, it's definitely one of the hardest stages. Last Labyrinth is an Oz stage with wave spam. I don't like that one. Cave Conclusion is... that is Dober PD and Sunfish Jones, which is also quite nasty if you don't have the right units. And Apocalypse Temple I accidentally cheesed. It's not super difficult with Courier. Was definitely one of the nastier ones back in the data. Then next up is The Legend Ends, which introduces nothing. And this is by far the second, I want to say either the most or second most difficult chapter. It really depends. Like, Copper's Coast definitely takes the cake in my opinion. I think Copper's Coast is the most difficult, but The Legend Ends is just... it has some of the most difficult stages by a long shot. And it took me the longest to beat on 1 star because I took so many tries for some of those. Day of Reckoning is Cappy plus Camille, which is very nasty. Thirst for Vengeance was... okay, yeah, this one is also kind of weird because you need to be very fast. And if your bomber doesn't properly work on the Razorback, you just kind of die. Glory of Glories, that was the zombie stage. That is basically free with Qigong. He honestly takes the piss out of it. Moment of Serenity, Yeah, this one. This is my kryptonite. You essentially need to kill the Borophim immediately, or you just fail. You just fail. Like, the Winged Piggy pushes way too hard if your ramen isn't ultra boosted. The Calamaria shreds through any other meat shield. And the Borophim pushes incredibly hard. And I did not have any good anti-angels, so I just kept dying on that one. You can cheese it, but it's not super easy in my opinion, and you need a very boosted little razor for that. False Resurrection. Let me check that one. Not super difficult, but can be quite nasty, and if you mess up, they're instantly on your base. Goblet of the Oath is just wave spam. Not super difficult with max treasures though. You can definitely be threatening if you don't have max treasures, but honestly by that point you'll most definitely have them. Twilight Zephyr is a bunch of bosses. Can definitely be nasty on the highest boost, as some of them are very, very strong, like the Ost. And the Ost actually killed me on 1 star because I ran out of money, so that is just disgusting. Unkept Promises is essentially free, but if you fail that one, you lose 800 energy, which I just do not like. And then to finish off, we have Laboratory of Relics, which I am putting in D tier. Now, note this is talking about Mechapon. This isn't talking about ED, because that would be 4 star. Mechapon is not that difficult. You just stack Necrodancer and Sanzo and you essentially win. Like, I basically just randomly threw some stuff at him at 3 star and I won the, like, it is one of the easiest 3 star stages in the entire game, in my opinion. It's just a joke. But yeah, there you have it. Like, I'm gonna just, does that show the, okay, that does not show the full image. Okay. So going down the list real quick, Cutburst Coast and Legend Ends, definitely back tier. Above and Below, Beyond Savannah, Blizzard Boulevard, Singularityville and Ends of the Earth, or Commit Die. Jailbreak Tunnel, Weak and Mildly Acidic, Interpret Cats, Galapagos, Combo Cape, Quarantine Isles, Windless Island, IT Catacombs, or Painful. Low Tide Beach, Alcatraz, Capone's Jail, Silk Road, Stairway to Darkness, Prince of Darkness, Sea Polluter, Body and Soul, Shadow Cosmopolis, Axis of Evil, Suburbs of the Dead, Mousy Land, Walk of Fame, and Grotesque Gallery are balanced. Sea of Tuna, Bamboo Island, Squishy Cave, Volcanoes, Volcano, Parthenon, Dead End Night, Battle Royale, Scars of War, Area 22, and Laboratory of Relics are pushover stages. And The Legend Begins, Passion Land, Glucosamine, Desert, Swimming Cats, Risky Terrain, Western Street, Never-Ending Cat Story, Castle of Fish, Sushi Island, and The Scratching Post are all free cat food. Now, tell me in the comments if you agree or disagree with my ranking. Maybe like and subscribe if you feel like doing that. That would be pretty nice. I could use like some likes and subscribes. Would be pretty epic. And I'll probably re-rank these when I get through 4 stars, because those are definitely a different story. But yeah, I'll see you next time.